What if the most unassuming person you know harbors the biggest secret? In the heart of our quiet town lived Frank, the mechanic. His life seemed simple, predictable. But what if his wrenches once sealed a leaking nuclear reactor on a sunken vessel? What if his quiet wisdom once navigated a crisis that could have sparked a global war? A forgotten tool, a faded uniform. And the truth about Frank, the nuclear hero, finally surfaces. Everyone in Springville knew old Frank, the quiet mechanic with grease under his nails and a kind smile. They trusted him with their cars, but they never knew he once held the fate of millions in his calloused hands. One stormy night, a forgotten military tag in his toolbox revealed a secret so profound it changed how everyone saw the humble man who fixed their engines. This isn't just a story about a mechanic. It's about a hidden hero who saved a nation from the unthinkable. In the sleepy, picturesque town of Springville, nestled amongst rolling hills and whispering pines, stood Frank's Auto Shop. It wasn't much to look at, a worn-out sign, perpetually oil-stained concrete, and a faint scent of gasoline and old rubber. And at its heart was Frank, the mechanic. A man of few words, Frank communicated mostly through grunts and the rhythmic clang of metal. His hands, gnarled and scarred by decades of wrenching, seemed to possess a magic touch, bringing even the most stubborn engines back to life. Frank lived a simple life. He opened his shop before dawn, worked until dusk, and spent his evenings alone in the small apartment above the garage, reading old technical manuals or listening to the crackle of a forgotten radio. To the townsfolk, he was simply Old Frank, reliable, dependable, and a little eccentric. They brought him their sputtering Fords and rattling Chevys, never once suspecting that the man who patiently fiddled with carburetors once fiddled with something far more volatile, a nuclear reactor. For over 40 years, Frank had meticulously built this unassuming facade. He had buried his past so deeply under so many layers of oil and routine that even he sometimes forgot the chilling realities of the man he once was. The man known as Lieutenant Commander Francis "Frankie" Miller, one of the brightest minds in naval nuclear engineering. Life, however, has an uncanny knack for unearthing buried truths, often in the most unexpected ways. It was a torrential Tuesday afternoon, rain lashing against the garage's tin roof, when a vintage, broken-down submarine engine was unexpectedly towed into Frank's yard. It was a relic from a bygone era, a museum piece that had suffered transport damage. Frank sighed. Just another job. As he began to dismantle the massive hulk of steel, his wrench slipped, knocking loose a hidden panel. Behind it, nestled amongst dust and ancient wiring, he saw it, a small, tarnished dog tag. Not his own current one, but an old, almost forgotten military ID tag. It bore his former rank, his old identification number, and a faded inscription, USS Nautilus, Silent Service. The sight sent a shiver down his spine. The Nautilus. The name echoed like a phantom limb, bringing back a flood of memories he had meticulously suppressed for half a century. His real name, for the better part of 3 decades, had been a classified secret, Lieutenant Commander Francis Miller. His assignment? To serve on the cutting edge of naval warfare, deep beneath the unforgiving ocean, where every hum, every tremor, every temperature fluctuation could spell disaster. Frank Miller wasn't merely a naval officer. He was a pioneer of the silent service, a master of complex nuclear systems, and a man whose analytical mind could diagnose a failing reactor with the precision of a surgeon. His expertise wasn't in firing torpedoes, but in ensuring the very heart of the submarine, its nuclear core, beat with perfect, controlled rhythm. For years, the memories of the Nautilus and the chilling realities they held had remained locked away. But seeing that dog tag again, feeling the weight of the past, something shifted within Frank. Perhaps it was the realization that some stories, no matter how carefully guarded, deserved to be told. Not for glory, but for understanding, for the lessons they held. October 27, 1968, deep in the North Atlantic. The air inside the submarine was thick with the metallic tang of recycled air and an undercurrent of fear. My orders were clear. Maintain stealth at all costs. The Cold War simmered, and we were the ghosts beneath the waves, the silent deterrents. Then, the alarm blared. A critical pressure drop, a leak, and the impossible, a breach in the primary coolant loop. The reactor was in danger. His most defining mission, one that very few knew about, unfolded in the suffocating confines of a crippled nuclear submarine. While the world above the waves remained oblivious, Lieutenant Commander Miller, alongside his team, was trapped hundreds of feet below the surface, facing a meltdown that could not only destroy them, but also trigger an international incident of unprecedented scale. He wasn't a soldier with a rifle, but a warrior with calculations, complex schematics, and an unparalleled ability to remain calm under unimaginable pressure. He navigated the claustrophobia, the radiation warnings, and the desperate attempts to seal a leak that defied conventional repair. One false move, one wrong calculation, and the fragile containment of the nuclear core could shatter, taking with it the lives of his crew and potentially igniting a global conflict. Back to present day. Frank stared out his garage door at the relentless rain. The contrast with his past is stark. The deafening roar of a failing reactor, the acrid smell of ozone, the screams of the alarms, all seemed to echo faintly in the quiet shop. He had lived a life of extraordinary duality, one that was meticulously documented in his private logbook, a chronicle of courage, sacrifice, and the quiet heroism that rarely makes headlines. But who would believe that the simple mechanic who patiently fixed sputtering engines once held the fate of millions in his trembling hands? It was a small detail, easily missed by most. But the news reporter, Sarah Jenkins, working on a story about aging infrastructure in small towns, had been visiting the shop. She noticed Frank's strange reaction to the submarine engine and later saw the faded Nautilus inscription on the dog tag he'd accidentally left on his workbench. Sarah, a meticulous researcher, had once read obscure declassified naval records about a legendary, almost mythical nuclear incident involving the USS Nautilus and a brilliant, anonymous engineer known only by his call sign, the wrench. His signature was a distinctive hand-drawn wrench symbol. She saw the same symbol, almost imperceptibly, etched into the corner of Frank's old toolbox. The pieces clicked into place with a chilling precision. Sarah's expression shifted from polite curiosity to profound realization and awe. She looked at Frank with new eyes, a mix of disbelief and immense respect. "Mr. Frank, are you the wrench?" Frank paused, a long, quiet moment. He looked at her, then at the dog tag, then back at her. A faint, knowing smile touched his lips. He nodded slowly, a silent confirmation that carried the weight of decades. The quiet confession hung in the air, transforming the unassuming mechanic into a figure of monumental historical significance. Sarah, overwhelmed, could only whisper a single word: incredible. It was a recognition, not just from her, but from a generation that had lived under the shadow of nuclear annihilation, unknowingly protected by silent guardians like Frank. The revelation of Frank Miller's true identity sent ripples through the quiet community, and eventually beyond. Naval historians and investigative journalists, initially skeptical, began to piece together the fragments of a remarkable life. Declassified documents, cross-referenced with Frank's meticulously kept logbook, confirmed the incredible truth. The humble mechanic had indeed been Lieutenant Commander Miller, a nuclear hero whose silent efforts had, on multiple occasions, steered humanity away from the brink. Frank Miller never sought fame or recognition for his extraordinary past. His true reward lay in the quiet satisfaction of a world that continued to turn, a peace that held, however fragilely. He returned to his garage, his engines, and his quiet life. But now he was seen not just as a reliable mechanic, but as a living legend, a testament to the fact that the greatest heroes often walk among us, their courage woven into the fabric of everyday life. Frank Miller's story reminds us that beneath the surface of the ordinary, extraordinary lives are often lived. True heroism doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers in the quiet corners of history, waiting patiently for the moment it is finally, respectfully heard. What silent heroes do you think walk among us today? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more untold stories from Untold Stories Land.